Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to start off this video very simply by saying this is your spoiler warning. If you haven't played the campaign or you don't want the campaign spoiled, do not watch any further in this video. Now that we've got that out of the way, the next thing that I want to say is that this is a video that I make every single year, the ending explained of the Call of Duty campaign. And this year is an interesting one because this is a campaign like we've never seen before because of a couple of reasons. First of all, the story is told in a way that is strange. There's one big overarching story and then a bunch of little stories in between for each of the individual characters. For this video, we are just going to be diving into that big overarching story that you see throughout the campaign, because that is essentially an origin story for not just Black Ops Cold War, but Modern Warfare and this whole overarching universe that they have created with Warzone over the past couple of years. And in this game, they start to explain that, and essentially, this is the origin of all of that. So there's not any big twist or anything like that at the end of the campaign, but rather an explanation of the entire universe of what we have for Call of Duty. So without further ado, this is the ending explained of Call of Duty Vanguard.
Nazi Germany, the final push into the heart of darkness. The SOE had recruited the six of us under my command for one reason: to retrieve files on the top-secret Project Phoenix, the last gasp of the Third Reich. A coalition of Allied commandos thrown together and aimed at where our enemy was most vulnerable. This was meant to be our first and only mission.
So the game starts out with you on a train with Task Force Vanguard, a group of soldiers sent in to figure out what exactly Project Phoenix is. And with this, it's rather interesting because it's a mystery at this point as to what you were actually hunting down and trying to find. The Task Force Vanguard's best guess is that you were hunting down some sort of documents that will help them win the war, but you're not 100% sure. Now on this train as Task Force Vanguard, you're with a few different characters. First of all, led by Arthur Kingsley. He is the head of Task Force Vanguard and the person leading the way. We also have Lucas Riggs, an Australian operator sent in and is specialized within demolitions and explosives. Polina Petronova, one of my favorite characters through the campaign, is essentially a sniper from Russia who has some huge vendettas against Germany, and specifically against Freisinger, a character that we will dive into in a little bit. We also have Wade Jackson, an American fighter pilot. His character will become more important later on in the story. The other character in this mission is named Richard Webb, and he is essentially Arthur Kingsley's right-hand man, and the character that you are playing, Novak. Now, this is the only picture we have of Novak because you play him in first person. We don't really know what he looks like, but you'll see why that is in a second. Now, at this point, our characters end up at a sub-base, not really knowing what they're looking for, until they get to a little overlook where they figure out exactly what they have to do.
We missed a hell of a party. Looks like they left in a hurry.
Phoenix, we must be close.
Not for long. Krauts are moving their stash onto a sub. See that lot lugging that chest? I bet you London to a brick. That is what we're after.
So what are we waiting for?
Time to bring the heavy stuff. Now we're talking.
Wait. We can't go in loud.
Arthur?
Whatever's in those papers is the best kept secret in the Third Reich. And the crowds kept them here, in the arse end of nowhere.
So what?
It makes no sense. It's like leaving the crown jewels on the front porch.
With hardly anyone watching them. The entire German army should be guarding this place.
We're not the only ones who don't know what Phoenix is.
So at this point, we get our first clue as to what Project Phoenix actually may be. It's interesting because the Germans don't know the German secret. This is something that should be guarded by all of the German army, but is not. And the question at this point is why and what is in that chest. So through the rest of the mission, you go onto the submarine, get in there, and go to retrieve the chest. But what ends up happening next does not go according to plan.
Wade?
An iPhone? Rectangulars. Australia.
So at this point, Task Force Vanguard is captured, with the exception of one character. Wade Jackson was somehow able to make it out of the submarine alive and not captured by the Germans. This is where we get our first look at Hermann Freisinger, a character who is based off of the real-life person named Heinrich Müller, who was the head of the Gestapo during World War II. Now, at this time, you kind of realize he is going to be the big main bad guy throughout the campaign, and he takes things to the next level, well, when this happens.
That's what you want. To sacrifice yourself. To be a leader. I am not here to give you what you want. Quite the contrary.
You give your monsters what you say must be done.
Dispose of that. Put the rest in the truck.
So at this point, all of Task Force Vanguard has been captured. Novak was taken out. However, Wade Jackson was still at large. This will come into play later. Now, at this point, they are taken into Berlin and are going to be interrogated.
Read the field report twice. This Allied team is fascinating.
They have been captured. But it was too close. I want you to find out everything you can about this unit.
It will be my pleasure, sir.
You will speak of this to no one else, and report directly to me.
Heil Hitler.
So at this point, we get introduced to a new character, Janik Richter. He is essentially going to be the one who is torturing and interrogating Task Force Vanguard. Now, at this point, we get our first clue as to what Freisinger is actually up to, where when Richter says Hail Hitler, Freisinger doesn't say it back. This will become way more important later on in the story. Now, at this point, Arthur Kingsley actually sees this as an opportunity rather than a detriment. Being captured and being interrogated will be tough, but at the same time, if he uses the proper tactics, they will in turn be able to get information out of Richter and figure out what is exactly going on with Project Phoenix. And really the first example that we see of this is when Polina Petronova gets interrogated. Things get really taken to the next level, but at the same time, this is one of the first times we see Richter start to crack.
I need only your screams. That will convince your friends to talk.
Why? Because I am a woman. You're not very good at this, are you?
Tell me, what other missions the Allies have in Germany?
Nothing worth talking about.
So, what is worth talking about, Fräulein?
Rising.
Now, as far as what Petronova feeds off of here, it's not something I'm going to cover in this video. As far as the characters within Vanguard, we're going to go over each of them and their own backstories and the full story of them. And if you want to hear about a specific character, let me know down in the comments who you'd like to hear about and hit that like button. It'll show me that you want to see more and more of these story videos. But as far as what happens here, you can see her bring up Freisinger and immediately Richter gets rattled. He doesn't realize that Vanguard at this point already knows so much and Freisinger's relation to Project Phoenix. The next step, however, is what Arthur Kingsley was planning on the whole time. Wade Jackson getting recaptured by the Germans and brought in for interrogation.
Wade showed up just as I'd hoped. He played his part well without even knowing my plan. The team had written him off, but I was counting on him being his usual charming self.
Try that again, crowd, and we're gonna have a real fucking problem.
Your team lied about you, Lieutenant.
Lieutenant? Now, is that so hard? Finally, some respect.
I know you as a sixth man. What did you want with that plane?
You Nazis. You make me miss fighting in the stinking Pacific.
I want to know what else they've lied about.
So after Richter gets a little bit more frustrated, he goes back to Vanguard and decides to up the ante once again.
Really? Do not lie to me again.
So for lying about the whereabouts of Wade Jackson, Richter goes in and takes out Richard Webb, who is, of course, as we talked about, Arthur Kingsley's right-hand man. And as we can see how upset Kingsley actually is because of this, but at the same time, things seemingly aren't going very well for the Germans either. Or are they?
Take your hands off me! Fighting against this is treachery! It's treachery of the highest order! Fighting up! You haven't heard the last of this! Get your hands off me! Eisinger!
What is going on?
Hitler is dead.
What? How?
Was it the Allies? Reports indicate he took his own life. But without the Führer, we are lost. Hardly.
Now, as Vanguard continues to get interrogated, we start to see Freisinger's plan come to fruition. As Lucas Riggs is being brought into the interrogation room, we see a bunch of German soldiers massacred and discarded inside one of the prison cells. At this point, Richter doesn't really know what is going on, but Lucas Riggs plays his part and convinces Richter exactly what's going on. Riggs explains to Richter that Freisinger's plan the entire time was a coup to take over leadership and become the leader of the German army. But just when Richter thinks he's figured everything out and can do something about it, Riggs turns the tables. So at this point, Riggs ends up taking Richter back to Vanguard and releasing his fellow teammates from the prison cell. Meanwhile, at the same time, we find out exactly what Freisinger was planning.
I've just received word. We have safe passage from Berlin. 3 years we have waited for this moment. Many good men were lost. Rommel, Steiner, Hitzel. But I promised you, Project Phoenix would succeed. Hitler has paid for his weakness. And now history will remember him as we do. A failure and a coward. The Red Army is nearly upon us. And Berlin is burning. But from the ashes shall rise our vision for something greater. To the Fourth Reich.
Now, this isn't a review of the campaign, but what I will say is this part of the game is very short-lived. Once Freisinger takes over in the very next mission, Vanguard's job is to track him down and stop him before he escapes. And that is exactly what happens, and there's essentially two options at this point. Either they keep him alive and take him back to America, where Freisinger says he will live a life of luxury because of all of the information he knows will be useful to the American government. But Polina Petronova for sure has some other plans for him.
And yet here we are.
And even the Allies would leave their decision to inferiors such as yourself.
We need him alive, boss. The intel he's got's what we came for.
Hey, shoot him or bring him. I'm starting this plane.
He'll never talk.
Get up!
The nations will make sure I'm well taken care of. As payment for my cooperation. A feast for a new beginning. A life of American luxury. Might suit me. Perhaps I might even start a new family.
Not for you. There is no starting over. This is your new beginning. Fascistkaya Svinya.
Do you even know who I am? The value that I can provide?
You're not worth it.
So at this point, our characters essentially extinguish the Fourth Reich, pun intended, but after this, we see upon the airplane they're escaping on, flown by Wade Jackson, they find a whole bunch more.
We're back in business.
That's it. Let's take a look. The Cape Verde Islands, the Bahamas, Argentina.
Even Antarctica.
Christ. These bastards have been plotting covert operations all over the world.
So what we can see from this is Project Phoenix and the Fourth Reich were making plans all across the world as German covert operations. Now, what's interesting is that is actually what we've seen so far of the story of the new Warzone map, Warzone Pacific. This is one of those German operations under Project Phoenix that Butcher says the Vanguard were hunting down. And that is the entire story behind Warzone Pacific, one of these Project Phoenix covert operations. But that's not all.
How about this? Project Nova.
I can beat it. Project Ether. Reviving the dead.
Does anyone want some Nazi gold?
Looks like we're going to be busy. Keep going. Open them all.
There you are. I was about to try this autopilot and come back. What's Project Aggregate?
Secret B-2 rocket facility. You think you could fly one of those?
Ha! I can fly anything. Hang on back there!
Fucking Wade.
Our mission was complete, but there'd be more. Forged in the fires, we were the tip of the spear. We were the Vanguard.
So obviously the last part there is pretty straightforward, but in case you missed it, the two things that they reference is first of all Project Nova. This is of course the campaign from Black Ops 1 and the story that is followed there with the creation of Nova 6 gas upon Rebirth Island. Essentially that tying the entire Black Ops universe into the Call of Duty Vanguard universe as well. On top of this, we have Project Ether. This is more so the storyline that we see inside of the Call of Duty Vanguard zombies storyline and pushing also into the Black Ops Cold War zombies as well with Project Ether. Essentially, the entire thing of Project Phoenix is what begins the storyline for Black Ops 1, zombies, and everything that way. Project Phoenix was behind the whole thing, and that is essentially what the story of Call of Duty Vanguard was. The origin story of all of these branching stories moving forward. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the full story of Call of Duty Vanguard and the ending explained. If you enjoyed it, you liked the video, it took forever to put together, so it's always appreciated if you hit that like button. Also, let me know down in the comments which characters you'd like to to see me go over next. I'm curious what you want to hear about that. And also, if you're new to the channel, like these type of story videos, I try to do them frequently. So if you do, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time,
we were the tip of the spear. We were the Vanguard.